Crypto. I'm CVO, joined here by Burmax, and we're going to take a look at all things crypto here today. So, if you've been following along, obviously we had some pretty big news events this week in the markets, which personally I'm really happy to just be over with. The undue tension leading up to those things are always just a little bit overdone, I think. But either way, the levels are the levels, and we're going to go over how you could have either just kind of been an observer yesterday on what to look for and what to watch for, or if you wanted to actively try to catch something, what you could have been looking for and why. Going to update Bitcoin, Ethereum, take a look at the DXY as well, and maybe give a couple of just general trading ideas here. So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to like and subscribe to this video. We do go live every single Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, sometimes 10:08. And with that being said, we'll just jump right into it. So, Burmax, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm very well, my man. I'll get my chart up now. Here we are. Okay, so yesterday in the stream, where were we? We were back here. We were back here taking the highs, and we were talking about taking the highs. We had an old high from start of the month, or I think it was start of last month. It was about 18,118, I believe it was. Now that did get swing fail, but you had the move up continue. And we were talking about this whipsaw movement in the stream. You were looking for a fast move up to then quickly, or fast move up to then come back down, or fast move down to then come back up. And we gave you some levels to look out for. Specifically myself, I gave you this level, the Q2 low, really strong level. And we said, you really do want to hold it. Now we came down overnight, tapped it, and you bounced off that perfectly. If you go back in the order flow, which we shall just now, it was we'll go back to the top and see how one could have possibly gone to a trade. I didn't. The big boys are at play. I thought, just leave it, let them run with whatever they're going to do. I had some targets of high, which Magic mentioned around 18,500 to 18,600, he said in the stream. There was kind of the areas I was looking for to take a trade if we're going to get more of a whipsaw up, but we didn't. The only thing we actually got when the news broke is we got a huge candle down, arguably a swing failure pattern initially. However, looking at the candle and looking at the volume and the delta and open interest, it really gave us nothing away. If you're taking that swing failure pattern trade, you've got a big pair on you, and I salute you. You did very well. However, it was a very risky trade. Nothing was really confirming that it was going to push down. Obviously, you did have at some point the market started to understand the news and started to break down, but this was all coming in 5 minutes before it even been announced what it was. We all knew it was going to come out, but we didn't know how the markets were really going to react to it. So you had a huge move down, and it came straight back up. So if you're in that swing failure pattern and you trade and you'd not taken profits, I'd imagine you'd have been sweating as you got the candle right up to almost taking your take profit. It was a very risky trade. Had one have taken it. The much better, safer trade always comes after it's calmed down a little bit. It shows its hands. It gives you a trade, and that trade was the bounce from the Q2 low. You got a trade. Didn't really go anywhere, which is a shame. I was really looking for it to come back up to, well, at the time would have been the golden pocket, which would have been this one, because it lines up so neatly with the third quarterly low. Really would have been sweet. You also have a pivot point in that region, which now, I say in that region, it's $100, $200 below. It's an area where you can kind of look for. And if we came up and tapped the pivot, you're also taking this high here. So again, I feel like I always beat the drum of the swing failure patterns, but it'd be one of them type of trades where you could take profits here and then possibly jump into a short to hedge against your long, and then you're trading either side of the market. So it's certainly a possibility. However, this trade didn't transpire, and we are where we are. We've just broken down. Heavy selling, you can tell by the PVA pivots and the volume. It has been heavy selling, and they pushed it below this region, and they needed to do it. The market maker needed to, really put in some strength to push it down, and that is signaled by the PVA. As you can see, though, on the second attempt down into the golden pocket, struggled a little bit. Volume hasn't been as high, and we're starting to get some signs of a bounce. I have personally taken a long from here. I'm putting my stop loss below this low. I say this low, it's actually a high from the other day, from the 9th. I put it just a touch below there. Reason being, well, it's a high. You don't want to really be breaking back into old ranges, because what you do when you break back into old ranges, well, you tend to cycle them. So I've put it just below this, because I think if we start to make it in there, it's going to go down more. It's going to go cycle the range that we had back here. And I don't really want to be holding my long while it does that. First take profit will be the Q2 low, because it's a very strong level. If we reject from there, I'll possibly take a short as well, if we're not going to get any of the high levels. Now, if we were to break above it, where would I be looking next? Well, personally, I'd be looking for the point of control on the day open from the range in this area, if you want to pull it like that. It's a strong level, and that'll be my next take profits. But another reason that I put my stop loss there, sorry to go back to that, is we also have, if we go to the TPO chart, a single print there. It starts up there. So it starts up at, it's actually a bit higher on this. A bit lower, sorry. I have had it marked up on another chart differently. But yeah, there's a single print in this region. There's a lot in this region to kind of signal, it's a strong, there's a level there. And if you start to break below it, well, it adds on to the fact you're going to cycle a range. It's not always good to, come and backfill these single prints if you want the uptrend to continue. So that's why that is my stop loss area. I'm going to allow it to be tested as support, but if it starts to break, I'm out. My risk is very small on this trade. It's not a very large stop loss. But going in and looking at it, so firstly, the bounce from the low last night. Sorry to bounce back to this one. You did have a sign of a delta switch up. You also got a effectively not a blow off bottom, but 5.7 million was the highest amount of volume you had in this candle. You also had positions changing hands somewhat, stagnant open interest, very negative. I say very negative. It's only 1.6 million, but it is positions changing hands. You also did have a buy up just before, and then it was followed by a buyback. So you can tell there's buyers interested here, even in limit orders, taking all of these sell orders. So that's why you get the buyback. Again, it didn't really take you anywhere. And at the point we were doing the member stream in the morning, we were about here. And I personally didn't want to take this long, because you had the VWAP just here. You also had the initial balance just a touch higher. I don't think we even tapped the initial balance. I think the initial balance was up here. It was. So around where just below the day open, well, let's call it the day val, because I haven't got it on this chart. In fact, I can go and pop it on here. So the initial balance, we never came back and touched it, but we were so close to it that it made no sense for anyone to take the long if you hadn't caught it at the low. You had a stop loss of, I think it was $150 at the time, and yet your first take profit had to be the day open, and it was like $40 or $50. It made no sense on a risk to reward basis. So where could you have taken a trade? Well, personally, I waited for it to come back down to the golden pocket. I'm going to pop down to a lower time frame and pull it from here. Come back down to the golden pocket, in which we gave us an entry, and it gave you, some time when it got back into this range. The sign to jump out of that trade, you needed order flow, in my opinion, and you needed the CVD up, because if you go and look at it, I'm going to hide the mark because it just makes the chart look messy. If we come up before the low actually occurred, you can spot you had very high CVD delta compared to where we've been. So it is bearish divergence just before we dropped. So it kind of signaled in this whole area, you've got bearish divergence, price isn't really going anywhere. Really, do you want to be in this trade anymore? It kind of comes to the fact of like trade management. How are you going to manage your trade? If signs are building up against your position, do you exit that trade? And the fact that was one factor. And then the second factor is the trade hasn't gone anywhere. So the idea that you had hasn't transpired very quickly. How long do you want to spend in that market? I don't like to spend long in the market at all. The fact I had the bearish divergence there, it's like get out now. So I'm very fortunately so. And then we come back down to where we are at the golden pocket. Coming into the golden pocket, you had a ton of shorts enter, a ton of shorts, really high volume. I believe the highest, not quite the highest today, but very high volume. And, it's the highest we've had in this little downward move other than the 21 million back here. Difference being is you had a ton of shorts entering at the golden pocket. makes your brain like go, why have you shorted down there? And it is actually in this candle I got in purely on the fact, if you look in, you didn't get buying imbalances for some time. You had a ton of shorts entering right at the lows, and they were immediately put underwater. And I was not going to let this chance, get away from me. So I jumped in. Reason being, while it was the volume chart that actually really made me want to jump in. So if we go to Scalp Bay, which is my favorite little template, and go find it, it's here. You can see as soon as you made the low, after all them shorts had piled in, you spotted the shorts pile in, you started to get high percentage candles on the volume chart, kind of signaling, things are changing up. And you had the delta weakening, then you got the strong delta coming in, buyers coming in. This is where you want to get into the price if you're going to take this trade. These are the reactions that you want. Now we have to see continuing buying coming into the market, or the shorts start to close off. That's kind of the logic that I'm thinking of. Where are these shorts that entered? If I go back to this chart, are these shorts that entered putting their stop loss? Well, you can be looking above here. That is the closest area one would logically think. And it could start a little rally up to the VWAP. Trigger them shorts, squeeze them out, take them to the liquidations, and maybe tap the VWAP. That's where the take profits are coming in. So that's the thought process behind my current trade. And I told you pretty much the whole plan there of what I'm really thinking in this trade. So we'll see if it plays out. Right now, buyers look like they've dropped off. I'm going to hold this one till it takes it to the stop loss, though. I'm not really going to be managing it too much because I believe in it. I think the golden pocket on the previous week high, it's a very strong level. If we don't at least see the take profit one, I'll be very surprised. And as soon as that take profit one is hit, I will be closing out not closing out the trade, moving my stop loss to entry. So, nothing lost if it goes back down and taps me out at that point. That's pretty much all for me. I think you wanted me to go over Dixie, so let's have a look at that. Now, Dixie is getting a rise now. This is on that 30-minute. If we go to the hourly, it is getting a rise, so that could mean more downside for us if we're going to be trading the correlation that some say they have. It is starting to reclaim this low, but correlation isn't always a thing that you should be trading. So the fact that it is having a rise isn't a good thing for Bitcoin. However, it's not gospel. I'm not going to be thinking, oh, Dixie's rising, this is this long's dead. It is something to take into consideration, but not something to panic you really. I think the S&P has also had a bit of a rough time. Let me bring that chart over, bear with me. It's having a bit of a rough time, which is also tanking. Now, it does need to start to reclaim some lows, SFPs possibly. I hate always saying SFPs, but they're just so good and they work in all markets. So, if it does start to bounce up here, it has just cycled some lows, taken that liquidity out of the market, and it can then push to the opposing side. So, has some good things in looking the correlation, but, don't take it as gospel. I'm in this trade and we'll see where it goes from here. But yeah, CVO, I'm all out. Nothing else to really go over.
I always forget that, when I turn myself off, you can't hear me. I was talking to you for like 10 minutes.
I could see your mouth moving. I was like,
yeah. I always, like my mic is on and everything. And I'm like, well, you can never hear me. All right. Is that a dog? So taking a look kind of back at yesterday as well with Ethereum. So when we were pushing higher on Bitcoin, we were coming through, we were looking at, similar areas, which generally, Bitcoin, Ethereum move pretty closely, not always the same. And usually you actually tend to get better percentage moves out, whether it's up or down out of Ethereum. And, we came into our statistical targets, both for Bitcoin and Ethereum on the same exact moment on CPI news, right? So we were looking for that. We were anticipating that for Tuesday or Wednesday. We got it on Tuesday and I guess technically on Wednesday as well. But aside from that, when Bitcoin was pushing higher yesterday, breaking the previous high, moving up to like 18.3, 18.4, you had this like little stair stepper out of Ethereum, and it was not coming through and breaking that high. And this was, I decided to look for Ethereum more than Bitcoin for the opportunity here. And if you recall from yesterday's video, what I was looking for was, once again, SFP, right? Does not stand for super fun Paul, sadly, but we were looking for this move right here and this November 10th high to be taken and then close back below. And then that, essentially was your trigger, and especially to come back and close back below this monthly key level. Thing that tripped me up yesterday was that it was, Bitcoin was still climbing. So I was, a little bit more cautious, but realistically, so I did not take the short, unfortunately. But realistically, that's exactly what we got. You got a nice on the 15-minute candle. I mean, you could zoom this into 5. And I mean, it was just, beautiful all around, right? So you got the run up, you got a brief breach, back down, closed. I mean, obviously then the move was underway, this little spike up, but really the trigger was here, stop loss above the high, and, then down we go. So at the time you had an untapped daily down here we were looking for, which was, we got a new one now, but it was like right here, I believe. It's right here. I'm sorry. It's right where we spiked down to. So it was like immediate, made it right down to it. So once again, very statistical target for that day. And, once again, we have a new one now for today. So, at that point, if you're missing a move at that level, with the volatility that came in, and realistically, it wasn't really that much volatility. I mean, this was like a 4 or 5% move, 4% for ETH, 4% for Bitcoin. So, we had longs already into, these monthly levels. I had it on Bitcoin. I didn't go with ETH on that one, but I was looking for the short. But at that point, it was one of those times where, like, if you didn't have a position, it's okay to kind of sit around and wait to see how things play out, because literally 159, I put a post in the group and it was right here, right? And it was, ETH's got to, get a move on or get off the pot, basically. And then the next minute you get the move down. So it was very, very timed and correlated around the news yesterday. However, the plan was in play already, and that's the biggest takeaway. Granted, it's just as anything else, like, you got to be patient and you got to have a strategy. And for me, the risk was, we could have easily just had a blowout, 2-3% even, would not have been worth, trying to catch this if you weren't like looking at it exactly, right? So, and if you missed that 1 minute move, basically, you just missed it, and it is what it is. So for me, what I did do yesterday was I took the back test off the daily open. So once again, you get new information every day. Daily open comes back up, VWAP resets, back test off the daily open, back test off the VWAP, and then what did we have in play? Well, we had our overall golden pocket down here, right? So very glad to see that, of the FOMC stuff. SBF, I think, is still in the news, which is the most annoying acronym, in my opinion, at this point. But just kind of glad to be done and over with a lot of that stuff, because it just brings on undue like tension, I feel like, for no reason. But like I said, the technicals remain the same. I mean, this was the plan. I didn't get to execute on it, and that's okay. Once again, it was only a 4% move that I missed out on. So coming into this, the back test of the daily open, down to the golden pocket, which is our developing weak point of control as well. You also have your weekly open. So there's a lot of reason right here to assume that we were going to make it down to this area for one, and then possibly get a bounce. So I did get out of the short. Personally, I'm looking for a long again, but I'm waiting to see if we come back down and tag this one more time. So we did get a wick down there. So I did have a preset to sell here. A lot of times, you almost have to with some of these. Preset the buys can be a little tricky because you can just spike right through and come back up. So I'm waiting to see if we do come back down to 1265. One thing I wanted to kind of bring up, and Richard Wright, he's in the group there, super fun Paul, right? We discuss, he's new in the group, and we discuss a bunch of ideas all the time. And one thing is like about being patient, especially with a lot of like interim trades, right? So this is a really great example because we came down earlier today, and you met the 618, right? So 1269. This is not a huge, difference here. It's $4, but in the sense of trading, this is almost a 0.5%. So I mean, the better entry obviously is down in this region, and obviously there's more things right below you here that could stack up and kind of give you some confluence on why we would come down to this region. But for anybody that was looking at this, an alert right here. you get this wick down, and this is the thing, you see these wicks, and unless you're presetting to buy, most people don't get in on these, right? They're getting in probably when it bounces back up. It's 15 minutes later, right? Now the price is already back up to 1276, and you think we're going to just, run it back. Bitcoin is the same way, but, note that like an hour and a half later, we actually come down and take that level. Anybody that's putting us, let's just look at this, what it would look like if you were, entering a trade at this point. So the screen, the candles look like this. Let's just say you're entering right here because you can't wait, you're impatient. And not to say that it couldn't just move on from here, but this is the thing, right, of probabilities and what you want to wait for. But most people are going to enter here, and then, like I said, even though this is only a $4 difference, it's only $4 difference from here. But if you're entering in this candle right here, this green one, let's just say you entered right there, it's a big stop loss, almost 1%. Realistically, you got to worry about the weekly open just below you. So, I mean, that's a pretty big opportunity for the price action to come back down, take you out before it actually moves back up. And a lot of times I see that. So that's why personally, and even when you do make it down to the gold pocket and miss it again, a lot of times it does come back one more time. But we'll see how it goes. If it doesn't, then I'll just look for the next level, right? But we talked about this with NPOCs and things like that. Something, things that get front ran. A lot of times what happens is you get, an area gets front ran and everybody gets a little FOMO, right? Because you start to see a little price action turn around. And, even though this is only like 45 minutes, that can seem like a lifetime when you're watching this. Or if you have an alert go off and you see that it's already bouncing back, and you just picture those V-shaped recoveries, and everybody does it all the time. And, you enter and then you just, whatever, I'm putting stop loss down here. And if I get wicked out, I get wicked out. But realistically, you don't really think like that until you get wicked out. And then the move comes through. But yeah, you get these front ran areas, build up some, let's just say you build up some longs in this region, for example, and then you actually come down, take everybody out, and then the move gets underway and more people come in, and then it's fuel for the upside or to the downside. It's just one of those things, right, that you can see happen quite often. But yeah, so for now, we have met the golden pocket here, and this is a pretty decent one. This is from, I think, the overall low from like last week, just like Bitcoin too, right? This is pretty decent area, yeah, from all the way from Wednesday, or I guess Wednesday of this week even. So the overall low at the moment to the high, weekly point of control, weekly open. So a big area to get a bounce from. And then once again, we got a statistical target for today, a high hit rate, like 70, 80%, 1319. It's also now the current gold pocket to the upside, right? So will we hit that? It's not a guarantee by any means, but there's, high probability that we'll make our way up to this region. You got VWAP is going to be a take profit at 1284 at the moment. Daily open is going to be a big area to watch at 1306. And then, yeah, 1319 up to 1320, clearing that level. And then, you can look up towards back again at the monthly and the November 10 high. But interim, right? Like I said, from day open down, that was a 3% move. If we get a run from here back up to this region, a 4% move, even without leverage, like you don't have to be leveraged to the tits all the time, right? Like I know Max likes to go really high leverage. I'm just kidding. He goes like 1x, which is smart. Like you don't need it, right? Like the leverage thing is really just a risk management tool that I think a lot of people they've used it for sure. But 3%, 4%, small leverage, whatever, no leverage. These are good opportunities. And, but you do have to be patient for a lot of them. Right. So, and then, like I said, yesterday, it's one of those, for me, like it sucks that I missed out on this level, because overall you could have got in on a pretty decent swing short, right? Granted, you have to manage that along the way. So what I mean by that is, let's just say, this was our high going for the next couple of weeks here, come down, get a bounce, you got a lower high, comes into this region, just a total thought experiment right now. But those areas to the downside that we were talking about, right, because we do have a good amount of things below us, and you got the overall, so this is the big one right down here. So of the current low to the high, gold pocket comes in right here. It's not really the only thing you should be looking for, of course. Like we always stack on other confluences, but you have a daily level down here as well that we left in that region. So, making our way down to this area over time, maybe a week or two or whatever the case may be, is definitely, possible. The invalidation of that at the moment would be coming back through and start claiming and holding above this monthly key level at 1350. But potentially, right, that's a possible 13% move to the downside, right? If you would have gotten in at this region, once again, you'd have to manage that position along the way. You'd have to pay yourself, move stop losses, things of that nature, so that you don't just get trapped in one of these scenarios where you marry that idea and it turns around and actually comes back and gives up all your gains, which also most traders probably do, right? So anyhow, that's kind of what I'm looking at for ETH in the short term. I would imagine we're going to get a decent little bounce here, back up to at least this area, if not back to the daily open. So 1307 comes up to our weekly high as well. Got the statistical target above us, and then if we start making our way and diddling up here, then things can change. As far as upside does go, still remains the same. At this point, that monthly level is the big one to get through. After that, we do have a gold pocket quarterly right above us, and that's another big area. So as far as where we are in the chart, I mean, mid to long term, you're kind of in the middle, a little bit of no man's land, because you really, even if we pushed up to this region, this could be a very big target zone, because this is still would be putting in a lower high, do nothing but come up to a basic target area. And then you can still kind of make your way down here. So we'll be monitoring reactions along the way here as we get underway here. You got the Q2 still, acting as a pretty big area. So losing that, if we lose this one more time, and timing is kind of coming into, effect here. So if we lose this going into the end of the month here, in December and in January, I would imagine we actually finally come down and visit some of these areas below us. One of the big ones being the untapped down here at 1031. This is Coinbase, 1038 on Bybit. Otherwise, if you start to see this level claimed, and once again, we'll be updating as we go. The biggest opportunity from there is going to be this untapped weekly up here, about 17,780. And so, yeah, in interim, got some daily moves to be paying attention for, and then as far as the swing moves, that's what I'm looking for. We're kind of sandwiched between these areas, about 1038 and 1770 as far as the big areas would go. All right, man, we still managed to pull off a 30-minute episode even without mistletoe magic. It's perfect. I think that's about all we have for you today. We do try to bring you as much info as possible in a short time frame, not wasting anybody's time. If you're interested in joining the Leading Crypto Discord server, where we do have access to all of our analysis, our 14 video step-by-step academy, we have a ton of good active traders in there. We're pretty active in there ourselves. Max is pretty much always in there overnight. Magic and I are in there throughout the day. As these moves unfold, we go through that pretty often. So if you're interested in joining that, the link in the description box below is there. We are offering a half off first month special. So the instructions for that is in the Discord. You can join the Discord for free, but there is a members area where you can come in though. So we also have a brand new website as well. The link is in the description box there too. It is leadingcrypto.io. So do be sure to give that a look as also. You can visit that, and I'll pull up the page here. Look at my big old face. All right. Looks like this, and you can scroll through, kind of get an idea of what we offer in there. You got the outline of the academy here, which we go over all the tools and resources that we use daily. Got some reviews here from some of the active members. You can see if the plans are right for you. And in here as well, if you click on membership plans and you go to the monthly one, just hit subscribe and add code BTC 22. Boom. And get you the half off for the first month. So if you're interested, do check the links below. Otherwise, we will see you all tomorrow. Max, you got anything to add before we sign off?
No, nothing at all, mate.
Perfect. Thank you all for tuning in. Once again, we do this every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow we'll have our weekly roundup as we go into the weekend. And until then, everybody, have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And see you next time. Cheers.